This lecture is for The Living Earth, Unit 1.2, Ecosystems. Our first essential question in this section will be, what are the characteristics of a population, a community, and an ecosystem? What are the characteristics of a population, a community, and an ecosystem? Populations will be our first main idea. Populations. All of the organisms of the same species occupying a certain area, again, two things there, same species occupying a certain area, the same area, make up a population. The area where a population lives is its habitat. For example, white-tailed deer live in forest habitats, and moray eels live in saltwater habitats. All populations are affected by abiotic factors like weather and water resources. They are also affected by biotic factors like available food sources and human activities. The measurable characteristics of a population. What's going on there? We got some weird action on the screen here. Just pretend that is a cute deer eating some leaves. Goodness. The measurable characteristics of a population, or population demographics as it's otherwise known, include density, distribution, and size. Population density is the number of individuals per unit area. For example, suppose a forest that is 50 square kilometers contains 3,000 white-tailed deer. The population density for deer in this forest would be 60 deer per square kilometer. Of course, most square kilometers in the forest would not contain exactly 60 deer. Some sections would contain fewer, while others would contain more. Density often varies greatly among species living in the same area. The forest described in the previous slide may contain only a few deer per square kilometer and hundreds of red oak trees, for example. Ecologists may be able to simply count individuals in a population to determine its density. Or they may have to make a random count in a sample area to calculate an estimated density. When describing a population's distribution, scientists often use three general terms. Individuals in a population are most commonly distributed in a clumped pattern. Again, most commonly distributed in a clumped pattern. The diagram of a clumped distribution shows three groups of organisms within the overall population. At other times, distribution may look random without any particular pattern. And rarely do individuals display a nearly uniform distribution. In a diagram of a nearly uniform distribution, individuals within the population are spread relatively evenly throughout the habitat. As with density, a population's distribution varies with time, usually in response to environmental changes. The size or growth rate of any population changes when one or more of the following changes: birth rate, death rate, or rate of individuals joining the population through immigration, or leaving the population through emigration. If a population experiences equivalent immigration and emigration, and its birth rate exceeds the death rate, the population will grow. Communities. The populations of organisms living together in an environment make up a community. Again, the different populations of organisms, meaning different species, living together in an environment make up a community. Several factors affect the structure of a community. These factors include climate, topography, available resources throughout the year, adaptive traits of organisms in the community, overall population size, and interactions among different species within that community. These interactions make up the community's structure. Communities change and develop over time. Some communities will reach a stable state to become a climax community. Different climax communities develop under different environmental conditions. Biologists classify climax communities into groups based on their similarities and differences. These groups are called biomes. Examples of biomes are temperate forests and coral reefs. Ecosystems. Ecosystems. Organisms interacting with one another and their physical surroundings make up an ecosystem. The abiotic factors of an ecosystem are the non-living components, including water, climate, and soil. The biotic factors are the living components and include all of the plants, animals, and other organisms. All ecosystems are open systems with inputs, transfers, and outputs of energy and nutrients. Ecosystems have no fixed size. An ecosystem can be as small as a temporary puddle or as large as a lake or a forest. Different ecosystems contain different species, and some ecosystems have very few species, while others have many species. The number of species in an ecosystem is one way to measure its biodiversity. A healthy ecosystem has stable species diversity and is better able to recover after serious damage by a human action or a natural disaster. Within an ecosystem, each species has its own preferred place to live, called its habitat. For example, a mallard duck may live in a pond habitat. Each species also performs a number of roles within the ecosystem. These roles, combined with the organism's habitat, are called its ecological niche. Ecological niche. Different species occupy different niches. If a niche becomes available or a new niche forms, an organism will eventually evolve to fill it. The rule is that no species occupies exactly the same niche as another. If they try to occupy the same niche, they will compete for the same resources. Eventually, the better adapted species will push the other species to extinction. We are learning about new species every day, and we are just figuring out the roles that they play in the natural world. By studying and maintaining biodiversity, we help keep our planet healthy. At this point, you should be able to construct a full and complete response to today's essential question. What are the characteristics of a population, a community, and an ecosystem?